Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to coverage of the final rounds of the 2022 USF Juniors presented by Cooper Tires program. My name's Rob Howden. We are at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, with a scholarship worth over $200,000 up for grabs for one of three drivers who are still in the championship battle here in USF Juniors. This is going to be a tremendous weekend. We say hello to those of you who tuned into the Road to Indy TV program, those of you trackside around the facility. Awesome to be here. My name's Rob Howden, the voice of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, and the voice of USF Juniors as well. As I said, thrilled to be here. Three drivers with an opportunity to take a run at the championship, the first ever champion in USF Juniors. Matt Clark, Sam Corey, and Alessandro DiTullio, the three drivers still in the championship battle. 40 points separates Clark back to DiTullio, 30 from Clark back to Corey. So right now, Matt Clark coming in with a pretty solid advantage. Essentially, he needs, at the end of race number one, to have a 67-point lead, and that would make it unsurmountable, but I don't know if that's going to happen after race number one. Work to be done still. Race two, race three, we could see something happen, but Clark's been pretty good out of the gate here yesterday. 3 test sessions around this unbelievably challenging racetrack, 3.4 miles, 20 different corners around the track here at the Circuit of the Americas, and we'll see these drivers battle it out. Qualifying getting set to go here, as we know. 3 races, one later on this afternoon, green flag scheduled for 3:25, and then, of course, 2 races tomorrow as well, part of the triple header. A 9:25 green flag for race number 2 in the morning, and then in the afternoon, 1:20. We'll start things off for race number 3, a triple header to cap off the season. It's been a great one, the inaugural USF Juniors program. And using the Ligier chassis this year, brand new Tatis JR23 to debut next season. The car very similar, using the same tub as the USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 cars. A very similar race car, but dialed down just to be a really solid development program. A lot of talk, of course, in the paddock about teams and drivers who are signed up and set to go for USF Juniors next year. Some of the primary teams, D-Force Racing, VRD Racing, and Exclusive Autosport all lined up. First opportunity to get a feel for the cameras that we have lined up here for this weekend here as well. I'll get a camera up in turn number 1. One as well up on the, here's the turn 1 camera. Also the camera up on the tower in the middle part of the racetrack. That'll catch the S's, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Got a camera down in turn 11 as well. One in camera 4 in turn number 12. Of course, one in the final corner as well. Here's that shot from up top. The iconic tower here at the Circuit of the Americas. Ethan Ho driving for DC Autosport, circulating his way around. He's had a pretty good second half of the season, kind of dialing things in. A good run in a taste of USF 2000 as well at the Portland International Raceway on Labor Day weekend, Ethan Ho. As I said, Matt Clark was the quickest driver in all 3 test sessions yesterday. Practice earlier today as well, he was strong. Quickest driver in practice. So he really has the speed right now coming out of the gate to try to take a run at this championship. Matt Clark running for D-Force Racing, the Milton, Ontario, Canada. Just about a half hour outside of Toronto. Lots of experience in Canadian F1600 racing. Did the F4 program last year, also running in the FRA series this year. Clark looking to work his way up into USF 2000 next year. Will it be with a scholarship? We'll see. And again, the brand new USF Juniors car coming out next year. One thing we'll jump in here real quickly, you see as we're seeing images here, only one part of the racetrack are we actually calling for track limits, and that is turn number 19. Otherwise, essentially everything wide open. So difficult, of course, to officiate the track limits here at the Circuit of the Americas, and this is the only place right here, coming out of turn number 19, the penultimate corner on the racetrack. From there, they roll into turn number 20, then back onto the front straightaway. So this is the one part of the racetrack they have to watch out for track limits. Otherwise, free game, essentially. Qualifying session now underway. As I said before, we will race later on today. Green flag time scheduled for around 3:25, but we expect to go live with the broadcast probably about 10 after 3. That's, of course, Central Time here in Austin, Texas. part of the USAC weekend, the Porsche Sprint Challenge and the Radical Cup program here as well. Matt Clark in the Valkyrie, Mir Raceline USA, Sakanson number 17. Other drivers he's battling the fight with is, again, the drivers from VRD Racing. They've had a tremendous season. VRD, Dan Mitchell's program, have already clinched the team championship based on a tremendous weekend at Road America. Of course, as we said, Sam Corey and Alessandro DiTullio all still in a mathematical fight for this championship battle. Nikita Johnson there in the number 7, currently P1 on the racetrack. 4th coming in the championship points. I guess he's still in the championship battle as well, to be honest. Back by 50 points. But it would be tough here for him to get that position away, I believe, from Matt Clark. Of course, with 19 drivers in the field, still points for finishing in that 19th position, which is key. Qualifying just getting rolling, drivers getting things dialed in here. Two points for the 19th spot, 1 point for anything 20 and back. So Clark's still going to be able to, regardless, get 3 points on the day or on the weekend. 99 points total up for grabs on the weekend. Matt Clark comes in with 324 points. The best that Sam Corey could do would be 393 points. So for Matt Clark, there's a number he's got to get to. That's what he's looking at. 324 points coming in. He needs 70 points. That will put him at 394. So if he can get 70 points on the weekend, he's got it locked and loaded as it is. Of course, the equation, the formula will change, which with every race that we put in the books here today. Obviously, it'll change all the drivers' points positions. So opening round's going to be really crucial. I think the way that the opening race this afternoon plays out, it'll kind of set the stage for how aggressive certain drivers potentially need to be in race number 2 and race number 3. It'll also change the way Matt Clark approaches things. If he has a really strong opening race, he literally could finish 4th in the other 2 races and still win the title. So that's what it comes down to. Qualifying, of course, key here as well. 3 races on the weekend, 1 qualifying session. So let's lay out the qualifying as well, the format there. Fastest lap of the race sets the grid for race number 1. Second fastest lap of the race, initially setting the grid for race number 2 and race number 3. So you need 2 strong laps. That said, your second fastest lap in qualifying, that is your essentially provisional qualifying time for race number 2. But if you go quicker in race number 1 than your second fastest race qualifying lap, you can use that lap instead. So you're allowed to use the lap in the race, and that's more comes to play for a driver who may have trouble in qualifying. Maybe they're not able to get any laps at all in. They are able to use their lap times from the race to potentially move themselves up the grid for race number 2 and race number 3, respectively. Coming into the halfway point of this session, less than 11 minutes remaining in the session. Nikita Johnson still up top at 2:16.245 fast lap. Alessandro DiTullio up into second. Bryson Morris making his USF Juniors debut. Last year's Lucas Oil Formula Car Race School champion. Running for Crosslink Kiwi Motorsports. He and his teammate Ryan Sheehan in the number 66, running P4. Sheehan, a native Texan, so big home state race. There's the 14 to Sam Corey, rolling out on the racetrack with Sticker Cooper. So sticker tires for Sam Corey right out in front of those 2 drivers. Johnson, DiTullio, Morris, Sheehan, and Andre Castro for International Motorsports. Now into the 5th spot, top 5. The driver out of New York, the Doug Mockett and Company sponsored machine. Castro's been pretty strong throughout the year. currently comes in 5th place in points. Mathematically not able to win this title, but nonetheless, it's been a pretty good year for Andre. Interesting for him, really his first ever full season of open wheel Formula Car racing. We've seen him in USF 2000, but sporadic entries. Won the Team USA scholarship last year and got a chance to run the Formula Ford Festival and the Walter Hayes Trophy for Team USA. But a full season here for Andre Castro. Ideally, he'll be able to get a program put together for USF 2000 in 2023. A number of these drivers, of course, looking forward to moving to USF 2000 next year. We expect to see Clark, Corey, DeTulio, Johnson, Castro, potentially all up into USF 2000. I would expect the same for Ethan Ho and potentially Titus Sherlock as well. Elliot Cox, I think, who's not here this weekend, actually looking to move up to USF as well. Less than 9 minutes remaining in the qualifying session here. Nikita Johnson up top, 216.245. Clark, that's him coming onto the straightaway. This is the number 17, your point leader, Matt Clark, coming up the straightaway right now in the Valkyrie D-Force Racing entry. The Canadian rolling up into turn number 1. Matt Clark currently back in 14th. I would expect just kind of getting a feel for this racetrack right now. You can see the drivers using all of it. Following Clark down through the 3, 4, 5, 6 combination. We'll keep on Matt Clark here. This is your point leader. We'll see if he throws a flyer down here pretty soon with 8.5 minutes remaining. Big sweeping run around turn number 8. Then through turn number 9, which leads them down over, of course, it's through 6, then 7, 8, 9. This is the big curving S's that work their way down into turn number 11. Outside of turn number 9. Now coming down through 10. This is a very crucial part of the racetrack here. The braking zone into turn number 11, which leads onto the long back straightaway. You got to get through this corner cleanly, and then it's a big rundown. This is where you're going to see the drafting when we end up going racing here this afternoon. They'll work their way down into this turn 12, hard braking left-hander with no track limits. Drivers with lots of room to get through here. Here's turn number 12. You'll see a lot of overtaking coming down into this corner, I guarantee it. Following one of the other D-Force drivers a little further back. There's Clark in the number 17. Right behind him, I believe, was Jake Bonilla in the number 19. Jake's had some pretty good runs here. Showing good speed here at COTA. Looking to cap off the season strong. Bonilla coming in 11th place in points. Chance to work his way up potentially into the top 9 with a good weekend. Clark again out of turn number 20. Final corner here on the racetrack. You see the drivers using all of the exit. Clark, his best lap there. 2:15. No, make it a 2:15.468. Clark to P1. Matt Clark lays down a P1 lap. And again, every point crucial. 30 points for a race win, 1 for pole, 1 for most laps led, and a 1 single point for the fastest lap of the race. A total of 33 points up for grabs on each of the 3 races here this weekend. Of course, Clark, if his second fastest lap is good enough, could clear, essentially provisionally clear 3 points. But watch for Nikita Johnson to step things back up. Bryson Morris. Clark slowing on the back part of the racetrack, getting out of the way of his teammate Jake Bonilla. So I think Clark may stand on it. 0.4 of a second faster, and he actually pulls off the racetrack to driver's left. I believe that's potentially coming through turn number 8. But Clark is off the racetrack. What is wrong with, is it indeed Matt Clark? Not going to want to bring out a red flag. Lose his fastest lap. He is off track. So he's gone quickest at 1:15.468, but is currently off the racetrack. I think that might be turn 6 or turn 8. Clark, Corey, Johnson, Morris, and DeTulio, the top 5. Ryan Sheehan in 6. Andre Castro sits 7. Quinn Armstrong for D-Force up into 8th, the Australian. Ethan Ho now 9th for DC Autosport, and Jake Bonilla rounding up the top 10. There's the 66 of Ryan Sheehan. Currently 6th position for Sheehan, and red flag does come out, and I believe that might be for Matt Clark. So Clark off the racetrack. And that, bringing that red flag out would negate his fastest lap. I think he only got the one fast lap. This could put him deep in the field. That was his first fast lap, and then an issue on the racetrack. There's the 44 Bailey Cruz making his USF Juniors debut. Red flag is flown. 4 minutes and 13 seconds remain. We'll freeze the clock, bring all the drivers back to pit lane. But what a development for Matt Clark, who's been the fastest driver all weekend, lays down the provisional pole lap, and indeed, he's going to fall to 18th position. He was not able to get a second lap, and this could put him at the tail of the grid for all 3 races. Disaster for Matt Clark here in qualifying. The AMR IndyCar safety crew getting over there to find out what's wrong with him. The mechanical putting him off the racetrack. Wow. This has changed the dynamic for Matt Clark, who could have started the pole for all the races, now looking to start near the tail of the field. Talk about putting him behind the 8 ball. Corey and Johnson, the 2 VRD drivers, P1 and P2, separated by 0.3 of a second. A good lap for Sam Corey. Second place in points. Going to get the early jump with a bonus point here. Indeed, we will go back, I believe. It's time's still winding down. I thought we were going to freeze the time, but time's still winding down, at least on my live timing here. 2:15.899 for Sam Corey, a 2:16.245 for Nikita Johnson, 0.3 quicker for Corey as VRD Racing 1-2. Bryson Morris up into 3rd, Alessandro DiTullio in 4th, so the 3 VRD drivers in the top 4. Ryan Sheehan in 5th, Andre Castro 6th, Quinn Armstrong 7th, Ethan Ho, Jake Bonilla, and Titus Sherlock rounding out the top 10. Giorgio Carrera in 11th. Maxwell Jameson up into 12th. They had an issue with the car of Maxwell Jameson. I think got 1 lap in practice this morning. Jameson doing a great job to work his way up into 12th. Jeremy Fairburn 13th. Ethan Barker, the family team, in 14th spot. Lucas Facuri in 15th. Bailey Cruz, Meta Caceres, Matt Clark, and Madison Oust rounding out the 19 drivers. But this turns the storyline for race number 1 upside down. Clark has been the fastest driver on the racetrack through 3 test sessions yesterday and then practice this morning as well. Does not translate that into a pole. He had the quickest lap, but only got 1 lap in before the mechanical puts him on the sidelines. Wow. They'll do what they can to get Mac towed off the racetrack and potentially able to go back. But time winding down right now. I don't know whether or not we'll give these drivers any time to get back on track. So you're going to have the 2 VRD drivers up front. Sam Corey, Nikita Johnson, and Alessandro DiTullio, all with mathematical opportunities to win this championship. They're going to fight out against each other. Matt Clark's going to start at the tail of the field, chipping his way back forward. He needs 70 points out of 3 races to lock it. No, that doesn't matter what anybody else does. They can win every race. But if he gets 70 points out of the 3 races, he'll win the championship. Engines firing back on pit lane again. Indeed, we have drivers coming back out onto the racetrack. We're back to green. Does anybody have anything for Matt Corey? Can they throw a flyer down here? 1:15.899 for Sam Corey in the number 14. Cornelius, North Carolina in the red line oil. Phil Wright, Stilo helmets, Ligier. There's one driver heading back to the paddock already, done. I don't know whether or not they're going to be able to get even a fast lap in here right now. 24 seconds remaining on the countdown clock on live timing. There's Jeremy Fairburn in the 87. Matty Oust right behind him in the 37, and one of the international cars. International Motorsports with 3 drivers here this weekend. Giorgio Carrera, Meta Caceres, and Andre Castro, we talked about earlier today. We'll see what race control does in terms of giving the drivers a little bit extra time here. But Corey on top with a 2:15.899, over 0.3 faster than his teammate Nikita Johnson. $19 drivers in the field. Looking forward to a brand new season, of course, next year with the brand new Tatis JR23 USF Juniors car. So again, drivers back out onto the racetrack. We'll see whether or not they're able to get at least one flyer in the books. We had the time red flagged at one point, but again, looking at live timing here, a lapse time 21:07. We may be going to 25. I want to say it was 20 minutes of green flag running within a 25-minute window. So losing a bit of time like we did there, there's a potential that they are going to potentially get a couple more minutes. Drivers need to spool things up quickly here. We know at least one driver heading back to the paddock. Coming up the straightaway, a couple of our D-Force Racing drivers. Here's the 20 of Alessandro Di Tullio. It's been a great season for Alessandro, who literally was a late entry to the program, was part of the Road to Indy iRacing E-Series. Was dominant in that, showing his speed there. Was able to get a program put together to join VRD Racing. And Di Tullio coming out of the weekend with a breakout Virginia International Raceway. Won all 3 races at VIR and then backed it up with a win at Mid-Ohio and then a victory as well at Road America. So he's got 5 wins on the season. Sits himself there in the 3rd place in points for Di Tullio. 40 points behind Matt Clark. Just 30 points behind is Sam Corey. 50 points behind for Nikita Johnson. Tougher for Nikita Johnson, of course. He'd have to essentially sweep the weekend, I think, to kind of get himself back in the fight. It all depends on what's going to happen with Matt Clark right now. Like we said, starting at the tail of the field right now. He'll be a driver to watch. We know he's got a quick race car. A lot of passing opportunities here at this racetrack. 15-lap race. Or 40 minutes, that's the time limit, but 15-lap races here. He's going to have to try to get a car a lap. Of course, stay out of the carnage as well. It's Andre Castro slowing a little bit on the racetrack as well. Nobody around him yet, so no kind of chance to impede anybody. But he's kind of off the throttle as well. Ethan Ho rolling up. There's Di Tullio still at it. He's P4 right now, provisionally. Ethan Ho currently in the 8th spot for DC Autosport. There's Di Tullio. Again, our camera off of the tower picking up much of the S's, essentially 3 all the way down to 9. Then we'll pick it up with our camera in turn number 11. Such a rhythm racetrack here at COTA. That'll be it for Andre Castro, the 23 for International Motorsports. He is in for 6th right now, provisionally. Time winding down. I'm going to say probably a minute remaining. Corey still on top. Checkered flag and flag flying right now, so everybody will be able to get this lap going. Corey, Johnson, Morris, Di Tullio, and Sheehan, top 5. Got to stay on the throttle. Finish this lap. Get to the timing stripe. Does anybody have anything for Corey? A 2:15.899 fast time for the North Carolina 14-year-old. Corey looking for a pole. A bonus point that he needs to close up on Matt Clark. And what a shift to the storyline for the Canadian Clark as he now has to come for the tail of the field. Dead last on the grid, 19th. That's Caceres able to go quicker. Clark only got one flyer in, went P1, then had a mechanical and pulled off the racetrack, bringing out the red flag, losing that lap. Unbelievable. Final corners of the racetrack here through that big sweeping 16, 17, 18. This is 19, then the turn into 20. One driver still on the racetrack, and that's DeTulio. He'll see the checkered flag at start-finish. Last lap, actually, a couple drivers laying one down. Ethan Barker, Maxwell Jamison, and Jeremy Fairburn all going quickest on their final circuits. Ethan Barker up into the 11th position. Excellent run for Barker. Maxwell Jamison 12th, Jeremy Fairburn in 13th. Madison Oust turns her fastest lap in the last circuit as well, a 2:19.660. That caps off qualifying. And again, what a crazy run that was for sure. An issue with Matt Clark. Gets out there, waits till later in the session, lays down a fast lap finally, goes to P1, only one circuit though in the books. Brings out the red flag with a mechanical, loses that fast lap, which means he doesn't even have a second quick lap. Now, one thing Matt Clark can do, of course, is turn a better lap in race number 1 that could improve him for race number 2. Right now, as they run, he's going to start last in all 3 races. But remember, in race number 1, if you turn a faster lap than you put it down in qualifying, you're going to be able to move up. And you know he's going to be faster than a 2:20. So we expect to see Matt Clark start at the tail of the field in race number 1, lay down a lap during his drive forward in race number 2, and potentially, and I would expect, improve his position for race number 2 on the grid. But it is going to be an all VRD front row, the newly crowned team champions, first ever team champions for USF Juniors. VRD Racing will have Sam Corey on the pole, Nikita Johnson on the outside of the front row, Bryson Morris and Alessandro DeTulio on row 2, Ryan Sheehan and Andre Castro on row 3, Quinn Armstrong and Ethan Ho on row 4, and Jake Bonilla and Titus Sherlock rounding out the top 10. Again, this is done. Qualifying is finished. We're still a ways away. 3:10 approximate start time for our live broadcast of race number 1 of the triple header here from the Circuit of the Americas. We hope you join us, folks, for this one because it's going to be exciting. The Cooper Tires Circuit of the Americas Grand Prix finale here in Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for tuning in. 3:10 Central start time, race number 1 of the triple header here from the Lone Star State. On behalf of everyone from Anderson Promotions and Road to Indy TV, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.
Happy Stage Car, you are clear to dispatch. Be aware there